What I have here, it's a measurement system trying to decipher or trying to learn how this DJI guys built the assembly, the system between the drone. I covered the number, the registration number. Um, that's why it's some green tape on it. Some people ask, oh, is it broken or something? No. Um, So the signal between the aircraft and a remote control. So this is a contraption. I just work on it. But before I modify this thing, I had to learn which antenna I'm going to use for my parabolic reflector. Because this antenna, this parabolic antenna, is working on 5.8 gigahertz. But the aircraft has two frequencies. They use two sets of frequency, or two frequency bands, I would say, because in at least in 2.4 it is spectrum. Now they said that the video downlink is analog. That could be true on the old Phantom or old DJI aircraft. I have no idea about the old stuff, but my model uses digital video, and they said that the signals from the remote control, the telemetry and the control signals to the aircraft and back from the aircraft, so there is a link, a radio link between the aircraft and the remote, and so you send some commands and this unit is receiving those, it's executing your commands, but also it's sending back, it's a telemetry link that sends back some of the signals that measure the status of battery, measure the position of the aircraft, the GPS, measure the altitude, and some other parameters that you see on your little app, right? So you need a link back and forth for that. And I thought, so I read the specification on the DJI website for my aircraft, not for any other aircraft, for this one. And they tell you that the 5.8 is used for analog link or analog down video signal, and 2.4 is used for the remote, for the IP network. Okay, because these things, they use Wi-Fi network. So I start digging a little bit, and I read the IPs. So you will find the internet the same type of description about the IPs. It has 3 IPs. One is for aircraft camera, one is for the remote, one is for your gadget, and one is for an AP, is like a gateway. So it's kind of a middleman that talks to the between the devices, between this guy and that guy, and that's in 2.4 gigahertz. That's a network using 2 of the antennas. So you have 3 antennas in this assembly. The stick on the right contains 2 antennas, and the stick on the left contains 1 antenna. So I took these things apart. You can see the PC board that this one is double, has 2 cables coming out. One is black, one is gray. And I identified that the black one is 5.8 gigahertz, which I connected internally. So I disconnected from here, disconnected, and I connect my own pigtail or jumper cable, whatever you want to call it, through a connector, a pigtail, a specialty connector that goes right into the board. And I had to identify those antennas, which one is which, what each antenna does. And I use some anti-static foil to shield the antennas, to lower the signal, to get it weak, because otherwise I would have to go far away to see which signal drops first. So first I isolated, or I dropped some of the signal power by inserting these antennas into the bags, so I didn't have to go too far, maybe 50 meters away. And then I look at the app. First I used the Litchi app, but I figured that the Litchi gave me a little bit of different signal level than the DJI Go app. So I'm using the DJI Go, and I look at the signal level. So this is the remote control signal level, and this is the video downlink control level. I mean signal level. But they said in a Go app, it said the Wi-Fi, which is true, because the video link, it's a digital, and it comes through the IP network. So the camera has its own IP and talks to the remote control gateway, and the remote control is shooting that IP network data to your gadget, to your Apple, to your Android. So I'm using an Android right now, a tablet. So that's the way you get the downlink. So that's a Wi-Fi network right here, and when you press it shows you some bars, some signal level. So I figured that these 2.4 gigahertz antennas, they do just that. They are part of the 2.4 gigahertz IP network that also takes the camera image. So I figured that by myself, by lowering the signal, by looking at the spectrum analyzer. And like I said, I had to isolate. So I'm putting these antennas in the bag, and I look at the signal level. It drops. Okay. Then take the bag out, signal comes back again. Then isolate the 5.8 gigs, and I look at the 2.4 gigs signal, and it's not much of a change. Okay, so I look at, once I isolate these ones, the 5.8, I look at the, oopsie, my app died. Oh, the battery is gone. Maybe I did reset. Oh, yeah. So I did look at this remote control icon, signal level, the number of bars, and I realized that it drops once I shield this little antennas. But I had to shield both, so it's one on diagonal to the other one. So like I said, they put it diagonally, so you have a better chance of coverage when this aircraft turns. So you have one antenna, at least one antenna towards you at every time. So you have this antenna 5.8 or 5.7 something, and this 2.4 point at you, or when you get the aircraft this way, you have 5.8, then 2.4. So you got the idea. You have a better chance of getting some signal for both, for the video, for the camera, and for the controls. So that was the purpose of the experiment today, using, like I said, the spectrum analyzer, looking at the spectrum, the frequencies and stuff, and using some scanning software to learn about which IP is doing what and stuff. And I tried to telnet into it, and I found some passwords over the internet, but it doesn't show me. Maybe because of the latest firmware on the aircraft, in the remote control, it doesn't show me much. It give me 3 folders, and I said, okay, I don't bother. I'm busy building stuff instead of tweaking software and stuff. So that's the contraption I built, and I had to test the polarization. So I assume that is going to be vertical polarization, but I thought, well, let's try. So when I turn the antenna horizontally, I got uh, lots of signal loss, and it's noticeable when the signal is very weak. If the signal is strong, you won't make much of a difference if the antenna is horizontal or vertical. But that's the contraption. So it's light. It's not too heavy. This one has probably 1 pound extra, like 400 grams or 600 grams or something. It's not heavy. It's aluminum. And again, this antenna is connecting my remote control to the aircraft for the purpose of maintaining a good strong signal between the remote or the controller and the aircraft. So originally I wanted the image, so I wanted to see the image in case I get close to the forest to the trees and I lose the control signal and I don't see I mean I don't know where the aircraft goes, or even you have to have it on the line of sight, but sometimes the trees are in the way, or if I fly in the ocean water, yeah, I might get some other stuff. So I had to decide between which antenna, which situation I'm using. Is it important to have video link in case I lose the drone and I can see something, I get closer to it using this long range antenna type, so I can find it that way. But then I thought, if it falls in the trees or something, what you see? Some trees, that's it. You have no sound, so if you try to whistle it or do something, you don't find it. But if you rely on the radio link that gives you the GPS and stuff like that, then you have a better chance. And if you lose signal on this thing, it's supposed to come back home. That's the idea. So I think it's better to have a strong signal between the remote controller and the aircraft instead of having a strong radio link between the camera IP network and the controller. And another thing is, in 2.4 gigs, 2.4 gigahertz, the antenna would be way bigger. I mean, you can use a lower gain antenna to have a small antenna, like a bigger dipole or an active element. But I didn't have one. The one I have, the 2.4 gig, is like 4 times that size. So I thought to experiment with that one, but it's heavy, and I'm glad that I kind of came to a conclusion using this little antenna that I have already. I didn't have to buy parts, and I'm going to make quick release clamps here, because this one goes into a backpack, the remote control. So I don't plan to carry this whole assembly this way and the drone somewhere to make a big backpack just for that assembly. So I don't have that intent. So this is not going to be a permanent solution for me, because I don't plan to fly farther than 1 kilometer or something. So I fly in the mountains most of the time, but I don't really want to fly that far, because I have another drone which has a strobes, and it's the same model but with the strobes. But in a daytime, when it's bright outside, I'm having a hard time to see even the strobes. So I think I'll stay within like 1 kilometer, maybe. I'll see. So this is just an experiment for now. I might take it out this weekend to test the range and how things work, just as an experiment. But I post this video to decode or to go over some myth. Like people post all sort of ideas and concepts and all sort of information. Many times is false information, or they pretend they know but they don't know, or they copy information from others and pass it on saying that they know. But this I came to this data by experimenting, because, like I said, the DJI tells you something, and maybe they want to mislead people on purpose to prevent people hacking in the system. I don't know. I don't know. I know when we deal with other manufacturers, uh, some new products, it's hard to get a service manual because um, they tell you that they don't want small shops or unauthorized people to have the service manuals and the schematics. Make it easier for other people to copy the product. But they release it later, like a couple of years later, when the product is kind of outdated. So let you go. That's the experiment I've done today, and I'm really excited. So now I have to spend some time to put the antennas back in, all four antennas, and dismantle this contraption and pack up my remote control into my backpack and go back home. See you later. Bye bye.